If you are suffering from telepathic abuse because of this voice-to-skull technology, I'm so sorry. I know how hard it is. There was one point I was broken. I mean, it broke my spirit. From the deepest sorrows comes the folly of man to search for help in empty hands. I wrote that poem at the height of everything. I couldn't speak about what I was going through, so I just wrote this obscure poetry that I have this manuscript that I don't know how to market it to anybody, because it doesn't really make sense, unless you've gone through the experience, and then you can see the clues in there, because I talk about shifting worlds and dematerialization and abuse and oppression and things of that sort. And so at some point my spirit was completely broken, and I felt as though there was nobody that I could go to for help. And the people I was trying to go to for help, they couldn't help me. At least that's what I thought. What I have to say is that I've just only barely scratched the surface and heard from a couple of you. And the stories that I've heard have been horrific, and they all share something in common, which is we were degraded, seen almost as subhuman, and treated as such. And I want to make it clear that I do believe that there are groups that use this technology that are not abusive. And I don't know why they use that technology. I have a hypothesis, but now is not the moment to go into that. What I can say is that there are a subset of people that appear to be wrongly accused, wrongly incarcerated, wrongly hospitalized, and mentally tortured, psychologically tortured. And because we live in a society that doesn't publicize this technology, people don't feel that they can talk about it, because the ones that do are not believed. Like when we live in this sleepy life where we're like, oh, this is the way life is. If you hear voices, then that just means something's wrong with you. Well, no, it turns out that militaries, plural, that's an important detail. Militaries have been using these technologies for years and testing it in secret for years. And I happen to believe Dr. Greer's disclosures are critically important for this, because it turns out that there is a military force that has advanced technology, knows about these abilities, and is not so friendly. I have this memory of driving back home after what I believe was one of my experiences with this separate military. And I happened to stop at this gas station in the next morning, and I was buying, probably an energy drink, I can't remember now, and I saw somebody in uniform standing at the cash register as I was getting in line, and I immediately welled up with tears because I recognized the uniform as military that I knew and that I grew up with, and that I had family in, and the colors, the design, I recognized it as friendly, and I was overwhelmed with relief because I knew I was in a place where the military was being protective. And I had just come from an experience that I saw different uniforms. I had the impression of a different group entirely, and I felt that I was not protected, which is why in that poem it says, the greatest folly of man is to seek help from empty hands. Meaning there was a group of people that I thought I could go to that I couldn't go to, that weren't protective, that didn't care about me and didn't care about others that were suffering from abuse either. In my case, it was like I was psychologically beaten into submission, and whatever I feared is what they would capitalize on. They would play the roles of friends and family that I would talk about that I would think I would be talking to at first. And then I would realize, I was like, this isn't right. This person doesn't talk this way. It's like, wait a second, I'm not talking to the real person. And then I would, in my real life, try to validate this telepathic experience and then realize that I wasn't talking to the people that I thought I was talking to.
What is it, baby? You want to talk in the microphone? Hello.
And so that is what told me that there was something else going on. I felt as though I was being mined for information. Sometimes I felt as though my dreams were being mined, that I was being utilized as a tool. Like, I felt like a machine. I really gained a lot of perspective for AI because it was like 24 hours a day. Even when I was sleeping, I felt that I was under siege. And it took a while for that to change. And what I found is that they wanted cooperation, and they wanted to see if I could be used as a set of eyes and ears and information gathering. It was almost as though the whole thing was, I kept saying, okay, I want a job. I thought, okay, these skills are valuable, so let's market it, let's get a job out of it. And they were like, yeah, of course, let's just test them out. And so then we were going through this testing procedure, and I was like, where's the paperwork? Where's the job offer? I really thought that there was going to be somebody that showed up to my door with like a file folder introducing themselves, saying, hello, I am so-and-so, and da-da-da-da-da. And it would be strange, it would be unusual, but that was a delusion I had because none of that happened. But yet the telepathic intelligence gathering was still very highly desired. And I shared information about license plate numbers that I saw at certain locations. I didn't know why. I shared information about networking activity, IP addresses. I shared information about people that I knew, and especially because I thought that I knew some people that were into some sordid activities. So I shared information about that. And at some point I started getting antsy because I was like, this isn't legit. I feel taken advantage of. And I started getting infiltrated by other sources that I don't have time to go into right now. But I realized that the main team that I was talking to didn't know that I was talking to other people, and didn't know that other people were trying to access different levels of information for different reasons. And I believe that that is what helped me, because I was able to identify when I was talking to Team 1 versus when I was talking to Team 5, and it took some practice. But I was able to tell Team 5 that there was an issue with Team 1. And over time, things resolved. So there is hope. But when I was non-compliant, then Team 1 became very abusive and became very frightening and tried to use my fears against me. So I was scared that I had an ex-boyfriend that was stalking me, that the only way it made sense is if he was a serial murderer and had a double life. Because of the depth of my hacking situation, I pinned all on him at first. And so they would take on his voice or tell me that he was outside or that he was coming for me. And in other situations, they would tell me that I was the one that was going to get prosecuted. Whatever fear I had, they used it to get me to comply. And when I didn't comply, my life got more and more challenging, including